Welcome to the Explainer. So, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like your brain is just everywhere, jumping from one thought to the next, kind of like popcorn popping in a hot pan? Well, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're going to dig into why our attention feels so fragmented, what we can actually do to get our focus back, and, this is the big one, why this personal struggle is creating a whole new divide between the focused and the distracted.
You know, this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It feels like we're not just using our devices anymore. It feels like they're using us. They've kind of become these extensions of our own minds, which, begs the real question, who's actually in control here?
And believe it or not, this feeling, it actually has a name, popcorn brain. It perfectly describes what's happening, a real rewiring of our brains thanks to all this constant digital stimulation. It's that feeling of chronic distraction that makes it seem almost impossible to just focus on one single thing. But understanding what it is, that's the first step to taking back control.
So how in the world did we get here? I can tell you this didn't happen by accident. We're about to pull back the curtain on the invisible forces and, frankly, the brilliant psychological engineering that's been designed specifically to keep us scrolling, often completely against our own best interests. Okay, so to really get why we're so hooked, we've got to bust a pretty common myth about dopamine. We all tend to think of it as the pleasure molecule, right? But the research shows it's really the anticipation molecule. It's the chemical that drives our craving, that little nagging feeling that the next swipe, the next click, that's the one that's going to bring the reward.
And that dopamine-driven anticipation, it literally turns our phones into little digital slot machines that we carry around in our pockets. I mean, think about it. Every time you refresh your feed, you're pulling the lever. You have no idea what you're going to get. A like, an important email, or just another ad. This randomness is what psychologists call a variable reward schedule, and it's the most addictive pattern known to man.
And the algorithms today? Oh, they have perfected this slot machine. It's not just about showing you content you like anymore. No, they've figured out that the strongest engagement, what really keeps you glued, comes from high arousal emotions. So content that makes you agitated, or envious, or even outraged. That stuff keeps you hooked way more effectively than something that just makes you happy.
Okay, so being in this constant state of emotional arousal and anticipation, it comes at a really steep and often invisible price. It's quietly chipping away at our ability to think deeply, to create anything meaningful, and even to just truly relax.
In the economy we live in today, the ability to do what's called deep work is basically a superpower. This skill, being able to focus without interruption on something that's really demanding, that's what creates real value. And it's the exact thing that popcorn brain is destroying.
So what's the real cost of just a quick little glance at your phone? Get ready for this number because it's kind of shocking. 23 minutes. That's the average time it takes for your brain to fully get back its focus on a complex task after just one small interruption. This is known as the context switching cost. And this cycle here shows it perfectly. You're trying to focus, right? An alert pops up, you check it for just a second, and boom, you've totally lost your mental context. Now you're facing that entire 23-minute climb just to get back to where you were. If this is happening every 10 minutes or so, you're basically operating in a state of permanent cognitive impairment. You never actually reach that deep focus.
And beyond just our work, we're losing something maybe even more fundamental. By filling every single empty moment, waiting in line, walking down the street, we're stopping our brain's default mode network from ever kicking in. That's the brain state for daydreaming, for reflection, for creativity. By killing boredom, we are, without even realizing it, killing the source of our best ideas and our ability to actually process our own lives.
Okay, I know, that was a lot of bad news. But here's the good news. There is a really powerful philosophy to fight back against all this. And no, it's not about becoming some Luddite and throwing your phone in a river. It's about shifting your entire mindset from just mindless reaction to deliberate, conscious intention.
This is the core idea, and it's a total reframing of the situation. Instead of letting technology tell you how to spend your time and your attention, you decide what you value first. And then you use technology as a very specific tool to help you achieve those things. All of a sudden, technology becomes your servant again, not your master.
So how do you even start? Well, the most popular way is with a digital declutter. For 30 days, you just get rid of all the non-essential tech in your life. This creates a kind of vacuum, and it forces you to rediscover what you actually enjoy doing in the real world. Then, at the very end, you slowly and very intentionally reintroduce only the tools that you feel add significant value to your life.
After that big reset, you don't just slide back into your old habits. You create simple but really powerful rules or conscious procedures to manage your tech. For instance, only checking social media on a laptop? That adds a little bit of friction that breaks that mindless scroll. Banning screens from the bedroom protects your sleep and your mind. And honestly, turning off all non-human notifications might be the most powerful step of them all. These aren't restrictions, they're about creating an environment where you can finally think clearly.
Want a really simple but incredibly powerful hack? Turn your phone screen to grayscale. I'm serious. The phone's bright, candy-colored icons are specifically designed to trigger those reward-seeking parts of our brain. Grayscale just removes all those triggers, and instantly your phone becomes way less appealing. It transforms it from a toy back into a tool.
You know, when it comes down to it, this whole journey isn't just about managing notifications. It's about reclaiming solitude. And I don't mean loneliness. I mean solitude, the freedom of your own mind from the constant input of everybody else's. Because it's in those quiet moments that you can actually hear yourself think.
Okay, let's wrap this explainer up by looking at the bigger picture. Because this isn't just a personal struggle with some bad habits. This is a massive societal shift, and the stakes for where you end up in all of this are incredibly high.
We're actually seeing a new kind of class divide emerge. And it's not about money, it's about attention. On one side, you have the distracted many, people who are just passively fed algorithmic content. And on the other, you have the focused few, the people who have mastered their own attention and can use these new tools to create and to lead. The question really is, which group are you going to be in?
And this right here is the most important takeaway of all. Yes, you'll be more productive, but this fight isn't really about getting more done. It's about freedom. It's about making sure that your thoughts, your goals, and your choices are truly your own, and not just dictated to you by an algorithm.
So, as we move forward, this is the single most important question you can ask yourself. The defining battle of our time isn't going to be fought in the streets. It's going to be fought in the quiet moments where you decide for yourself where you're going to place your attention, who is in control.